Merry Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Because we have reached that time of year and we are still doing Oscar predictions because that is just how amazing we are over here. Doing the supporting acting categories, doing the screenplay categories, it's gonna be great. I'm debating whether or not to be wearing this getup the whole time, out of joyous celebration. I think I'm gonna take it off. But anyways, before we get started, just two quick notes from the last part of Oscar predictions. One, for Best Picture, I'm making one slight change. I'm putting The Brutalist back at number 2 and Conclave back at 3. This was something I was thinking a lot about while I was editing the video, where I was like, well, I think really The Brutalist should be my number 2. How can I have Brady Corbett winning and Adrian Brody winning and then not have The Brutalist as my number 2 when Conclave is not winning that many major categories for me? My second note is that on that video, I also said that Angelina Jolie has never been nominated for lead actress. She has. I was wrong. I think I meant to say that she has not won lead actress, but either way, she was nominated for The Changeling back in, I think, 08 or 09. And yeah, I was wrong about that. Just bad research on my part and bad double checking on the research before I started recording and saying what I said. So I apologize to all those that caught that mistake and were telling me in the comments. Thank you for calling me out on that. So anyways, let's dive in to Best Supporting Actress. And honestly, this category is a complete mess to me. You have Zoe Saldana and Ariana Grande, who I think are locks. They are in. They're gonna get nominated. They're the two frontrunners to win. Probably the only two that could actually win this award. I do still have Saldana edging out Grande, but it's close between the two. But after that, just, oh my god. At number 3, I do have Felicity Jones. Even though she got snubbed by the Critics' Choice, I just think that that was some oversight there. The Brutalist is so big, and it is my number 2 now. So I feel like she's gonna get in. I think The Brutalist and her performance are just too big to get snubbed. But after her, I have Danielle Deadwyler. Danielle Deadwyler, it's kind of the opposite. This is a huge performance in terms of the film and how good the performance is, but the film is getting no other nominations anywhere. It's just gonna be Deadwyler. If she even gets nominated. She got snubbed at the Globes, but this performance is just so good and Netflix is pushing it, so I feel like it's gonna get nominated here. But I am a little flimsy on it. I am a little worried. I used to think that this performance was a complete lock. It's not at all. And I do have it in the same tier as all the other performances below Grande and Saldana. And then at 5, I have Isabella Rossellini. Conclave is a really strong film. And maybe I should have Rossellini at 4 over Deadwyler because of how strong Conclave is, but I just feel like Rossellini isn't in the film enough and really only gets one great scene, and aside from that, doesn't have much else to go off of. But we still have 3 other performances outside of this top 5 that are in the same exact tier as 3 through 5. And that starts off with Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor for Nickel Boys. I think that she could totally get in. There's been a lot of love for her performance. I'm yet to see Nickel Boys, but might be seeing it on Saturday, which will be really awesome, and I can't wait for that. There's a lot of love for Nickel Boys, a lot of love for her performance, and if Nickel Boys is gonna get a Best Picture nomination, which I'm predicting it to get, that means that there's gonna be a lot of love for it in other categories. It's not like the Golden Globes, where it's just gonna get a Best Picture nomination and nothing else. But then followed by Margaret Qualley, who surprisingly got nominated at both the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, over Deadwyler in one and then Felicity Jones in the other. So there's just so much love and passion for The Substance. It's outstanding and awesome, and I love to see it. And I would not be too shocked if Margaret Qualley ended up getting a nomination now at the Oscars, but I do have her at number 7 on the outside of things. And then right at the bottom, I do have Selena Gomez, still again in the same tier as everyone else pretty much, but I just think that when you have such a competitive category, it's gonna be really difficult for 2 people from the same movie to get in. And Zoe Saldana has just this dominating performance, while Gomez just doesn't get as much to do within the film, and in my opinion, isn't as good as Saldana and Carlos Sofia Gascon. But again, all of the bottom 6 here, everyone that is not Zoe Saldana or Ariana Grande, is in the same tier. This is just, this category is a bit of a mess to me and is really unpredictable. And at this point, I could see any combination of that 6 getting nominated, and that'll probably change pretty soon, but that is where I stand now for these predictions. So supporting actor is now looking a little interesting, or at least feels a little bit more interesting, with A Real Pain now becoming kind of an underdog for getting a Best Picture nomination. I still have Kieran Culkin as my number 1, but I don't feel nearly as strongly about that as I used to, because he's not being backed by a Best Picture nominated film. It's gonna be a similar situation to like Brendan Fraser for The Whale if he wins this award. And again, I can still see it happening. I still have him as number 1, but I think it's a closer fight than it used to be. Guy Pearce is my number 2. Great performance from what I've heard, and it's for The Brutalist. You know, The Brutalist is huge, and he's gonna get a lot of screen time here. So I'm expecting that he has a decent chance. Plus, with his campaign now, they're talking about how Warner Bros. Stopped him from reuniting with Nolan, and they're trying to build this sympathy for Guy Pearce, it almost feels like, to build this little narrative of being like, yeah, like, he was really good and then didn't get a lot of jobs. Now here he is with a fantastic role in The Brutalist, and hopefully he can get more work and all of that, and just kind of celebrating him as an actor. So yeah, there's that story going for him, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. And my final true lock for supporting actor is Denzel in Gladiator II. Just when people walk out of Gladiator II, it's all about how good Denzel was. It's just Denzel was fantastic. Denzel stole the show. That's what the majority of people are saying. He is such a beloved figure in Hollywood, and he's gonna get this nomination. It's bound to happen at this point. So yeah, this top 3, I think that they're locked in. But the bottom 2, that's where things are more interesting. I do have Clarence Macklin as my number 4 right now. I'm feeling okay about him. Even though Sing Sing has not been getting as many nominations as we've wanted it to, it did poorly at the Globes. I still think it's going to get that Best Picture nomination. I think Coleman's going to get his nomination. The Screenplay, we'll talk about that soon, but I think that's going to get a nomination. So I think Clarence can also get one. But now my new number 5 is Edward Norton. For the longest time, I was on the Stanley Tucci train. I was like, he's gonna get a nomination for Conclave. This top 5, Tucci, Macklin, Denzel, Guy Pearce, and then Kieran Culkin. I felt so good about that top 5. Yeah, Tucci is out of it, I think. I mean, he's still here on this list, but he is like a lot more unlikely and not a favorite for me to actually get a nomination here like he used to. Edward Norton has been getting so much praise for A Complete Unknown, and if Complete Unknown is going to get a Best Picture nomination, chances are it's going to be getting more than just Timothée Chalamet getting Best Actor as like an above-the-line category. That means it's probably going to be Norton with the other above-the-line nomination as Best Supporting Actor, because chances are it's not getting a Screenplay nomination, and like we haven't even mentioned James Mangold for Director. So it really does need this Edward Norton nomination here, and I think that that is becoming very likely. We also have Yura Borisov here for Anora, and I've been saying it this whole time, I just feel like he's another Charles Melton, where yeah, even though Anora is a lot bigger than May December was, he just doesn't have enough screen time, and he's such an unknown actor where even if Anora is like gonna win Best Picture, which at the moment I think it will, I don't know if that is enough for Borisov to creep into the supporting actor race, especially when you have other strong candidates like Norton and Macklin, who I do have above him, and he's still also contending with guys like Stanley Tucci. But I do have Borisov in the same tier as Norton and Macklin. I could see him getting in over either one of them, but I just have him as my number 6. Then we do have Stanley Tucci there at number 7. It's looking a lot worse for him. But I think because of how strong Conclave is, he could still sneak in somehow. And lastly, just wanted to put Jeremy Strong here for The Apprentice, just because he's been getting a lot of nominations at outside awards, so there does feel like there's a chance for him. But again, Donald Trump coming into office, are the Oscars really gonna let that happen? I just don't think so. Jumping over to original screenplay, there are not a lot of contenders for this award in my opinion. You really have a very front-loaded top four with Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, and The Substance really just solidly being locks for original screenplay at this point, at least in my opinion. But then the fifth slot is a bit more interesting. I do have September 5 as a clear frontrunner to get it, but I do also have challengers and All We Imagine Is Light as quick just runners up. I just want to talk about challengers for 1 second because with how you have ranked choice ballots at the Oscars, you could be getting a lot of people putting challengers as their number one. And that could be huge for it, you know, because at the end of the day, those number one votes are the most important ones for ranked choice ballots, and Challengers is just such a fan favorite type of film, and if you have enough people who are a part of the Academy that are a part of that cult following for Challengers, that could be huge for it. Because September 5, it's just kind of this cookie cutter movie, just like to me this category is a very cookie cutter category, and you might have a lot of people putting it in their top 5, but how many people are really going to have it as their number one? I doubt that there's that many. So challengers could creep in here and steal an original screenplay nomination, which would be crazy and awesome. And I just wanted to call that out because if it happens, you can come back to me and I can be like, I kind of told you so. I wasn't predicting it, but I understood the path, and I do understand the path for challengers to getting that original screenplay nomination, and wanted to talk about it for 2 seconds there. It would be awesome. I would love it. But yeah, like I said, cookie cutter category, there's not much more to say. Now ending off with adapted screenplay, it's a little more interesting here. Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Sing Sing are my locks to be getting those nominations. And then just a step down is Nickel Boys in Dune Part 2. And you know, a big reason for that is that Wicked has really taken a huge step up. And I don't have Wicked in my top 5 now, like I probably should, but I have a hard time picking Dune 2 or Nickel Boys for which one to sub out for Wicked, when it seems like both of them just have really complex, interesting screenplays, while Wicked is just adapting a stage play that's already so similar to a screenplay. And I know that that's kind of silly logic for me, and I should kind of bite the bullet and pick Nickel Boys or and pick Nickel Boys or Dune to take out for Wicked, but I can't make that pick right now. So I'm keeping them both in. I'm keeping Wicked on the outside looking in. I'm also keeping A Complete Unknown on the outside looking in. And I could see a world where Wicked and A Complete Unknown actually unseat Nickel Boys in Dune Part 2. These are two films on the rise versus Nickel Boys, which is just a pretty small film that's remained rather stagnant, in Dune 2 that feels like a film on the decline. So they could just be caught at the right time to be unseated here. And also mentioned, I have I'm Still Here just right at the bottom. There's a lot of love for this film, a lot of acclaim for it, and it is an adapted screenplay, so who knows, it could get a nomination, but I do think that that's pretty unlikely just because, you know, the bottom like 4 to me, or I guess like the 4 above I'm Still Here, are just big like Best Picture contender type of films, while I'm Still Here to me is not a Best Picture contender. So those are my predictions. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what I had to say here. I know that there just wasn't as much to go off of as there was last month. We have a lot less films and actors mentioned in these categories, and things feel like they're just coming into shape more and more with each like new like smaller award show announcing their winners or their nominations or any of that. So we're really inching closer with each day, and this race is starting to shape up, but some of these categories are going to be so interesting. Both of the supporting actor races, I think, are just fascinating to look at, and adapted screenplay too. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.